In the shimmering void of the Zerathian Empire, where stars whispered secrets to those daring enough to listen, Princess Lyra floated like a forgotten dream. Her hair cascaded in waves of pure white, framing a face as pale and luminous as moonlight on fresh snow. Those small, pointed ears delicate as elfin whispers twitched at the faintest sound, a remnant of her ancient lineage. She wore a gown that clung to her curvaceous form, a blend of silk and star thread that shimmered with an otherworldly glow, accentuating every graceful curve while maintaining an air of regal elegance. But now, that elegance was tarnished by betrayal. The royal family had cast her out during the height of a savage civil war, deeming her too gentle, too empathetic for the Iron Throne of Zerathia. Weak, they sneered in the echoing halls of the palace, their voices cold as the vacuum of space. Left to perish on the hostile frontier planet of Vexilon, a world teeming with savage beasts and warring factions, Lyra had been abandoned to fend for herself. No guards, no ships, no mercy. Just the endless dunes of crimson sand and the howls of alien predators echoing through the night. She remembered the moment vividly, the Grand Council chamber aboard the Imperial flagship, where her father, the Emperor, turned his back on her. "You are no longer of our blood," he declared, his eyes like fractured crystals. Her siblings, those scheming shadows, nodded in agreement, their faces masks of indifference. They warped away in a blaze of hyperspace, leaving her shuttle to crash land on this forsaken rock. Days turned to weeks as she scavenged for survival, her once luxurious gown torn and stained, her body aching from the relentless heat and the sting of venomous winds. But fate, that capricious dancer among the stars, had other plans. It was on a stormy eve, as lightning cracked the sky like shattered glass, that a human expeditionary force stumbled upon her makeshift shelter. They were explorers from Earth, a ragtag crew of adventurers led by Captain Kai Voss, a man with eyes like stormy oceans and a jaw carved from the rugged mountains of his homeworld. Kai was no stranger to the galaxy's cruelties. He'd lost comrades to pirate raids and black holes alike. His crew, a motley band of engineers, warriors and dreamers, had come to Vexilon seeking rare minerals, not a damsel in distress. Yet there she was, Lyra, huddled in a cave, her white hair matted with dust, her gowned form trembling but unbroken. Kai's team froze at the sight of her, alien yet achingly beautiful, her pointed ears peeking through the strands, her skin glowing faintly under the dim light of bioluminescent fungi. What are you?" One of his men stammered, rifle raised. Lyra lifted her head, her violet eyes locking onto Kai's. In that instant, something sparked a connection that transcended species, a pull as inevitable as gravity. She spoke in a voice like silk over steel, her words translated flawlessly by the universal comms implant all Zerathians bore. "I am Lyra, heir to Zerathia. Abandoned by my kin. If you seek to claim this planet's treasures, know that death awaits us all here." Kai lowered his weapon, his heart pounding not from fear, but from an inexplicable urge to shield her. Humans, with their unyielding spirit, had a reputation across the stars, stubborn, inventive and fiercely loyal. Where aliens schemed and betrayed, humans built alliances from ashes. "We're not leaving you here," Kai said, his voice steady, extending a hand scarred from 1,000 battles. "Not on my watch." His crew murmured in protest. Resources were low. The war raged on, but Kai silenced them with a glare. "She's alone. Like we were when the Federation turned its back on Earth during the Void Wars. We swear it now, we'll protect you, princess. Whatever it takes." And so, the oath was made, unbreakable as the bonds of carbon in a diamond core. Lyra felt a warmth bloom in her chest, foreign yet intoxicating. These humans, with their makeshift tech and boundless ingenuity, saw not weakness in her empathy, but strength. As they helped her to her feet, Kai's touch on her arm sent a shiver through her, a prelude to storms yet to come. They moved swiftly through the dunes, Kai's team deploying drones to scout ahead. The air hummed with tension. Rival factions, merciless scavengers from neighboring systems, had caught wind of the crashed shuttle. Blaster fire erupted from the shadows, bolts of energy sizzling the sand into glass. Kai shoved Lyra behind a rock formation, his body shielding hers instinctively. "Stay down," he barked, returning fire with precise shots from his plasma rifle. The battle was fierce, a whirlwind of chaos. One human, a burly engineer named Jax, rigged an improvised explosive from salvaged parts, hurling it into the enemy ranks. It detonated in a bloom of fire, scattering the attackers like leaves in a gale. Lyra watched in awe as these beings smaller than Zerathians, yet tireless coordinated with seamless precision. Kai leaped over barriers, his movements fluid, dodging lasers that would have felled lesser men. He grabbed a fallen foe's weapon, adapting it on the fly with a quick hack from his wrist device, turning it against them. "They're retreating," shouted another crew member, a sharp-eyed pilot called Mia. But victory was short-lived. A massive beast, a Vexillan sandworm, erupted from the ground, drawn by the commotion. Its maw gaped wide, rows of teeth glinting like obsidian shards. The creature lunged, swallowing one scavenger whole. Kai didn't hesitate. "Form up. Use the EMP nets." His team unleashed a web of electrified filaments, ensnaring the worm. It thrashed, roaring, but Kai climbed atop it, jamming a vibro knife into its neural cluster. The beast convulsed and fell, dust billowing like a shroud. In the aftermath, as the group caught their breath, Lyra approached Kai. Her hand brushed his, sending that electric spark again. "You fight like legends from our ancient tales," she whispered, her voice laced with wonder. "Why risk everything for me?" Kai met her gaze, his breath ragged. "Because no one deserves to be left behind. And there's something about you, Lyra, like you've been waiting for us all along." As they boarded their battered ship, the engines humming to life, Lyra glanced back at Vexillan's horizon. The Empire's fleets loomed in the distance, closing in. But with these humans by her side, hope flickered anew, a flame that could ignite the stars. The journey back to their outpost was fraught with peril. Hyperspace jumps evaded patrols, but whispers of pursuit echoed through the comms. Kai assigned Lyra a quarters, sparse but safe, where she could rest, yet sleep eluded her. Images of Kai's bravery replayed in her mind, stirring emotions she'd long suppressed in the cold courts of Zerathia. One night, as the ship shuddered through asteroid fields, Kai knocked on her door. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, entering with a tray of Earth rations, strange, savory foods that tantalized her senses. Lyra nodded, her gown slipping slightly from one shoulder, revealing the smooth curve of her pale skin. "Your world, tell me about it. Why do humans venture so far?" Kai sat beside her, their knees brushing. He spoke of Earth's oceans, its resilient people who had clawed their way to the stars after near extinction. As he talked, his hand found hers, fingers intertwining. The touch was innocent at first, but the air grew thick with unspoken desire. Lyra's heart raced. Zerathians bonded through empathy links, but this felt raw, human, passionate. Leaning closer, Kai's breath warmed her ear. "You're not weak, Lyra. You're extraordinary." Their lips met in a tentative kiss, a fusion of worlds that sent sparks dancing along her nerves. But alarms blared, enemy ships detected. The moment shattered, propelling them back into action. Kai rushed to the bridge, Lyra following, her resolve hardening. Together, they outmaneuvered the pursuers, using clever decoys fashioned from scrap. As the ship stabilized, Lyra realized this was no mere rescue. It was the beginning of something profound, a bond that could reshape empires. Deeper into the galaxy they fled, rallying unlikely allies, rogue traders from Orvian, who owed humans favors from past deals, nomadic warriors from Lunara, enticed by tales of human valor. Kai's ingenuity shone. He reverse-engineered Zerathian tech from Lyra's shuttle remnants, boosting their shields. Yet tension simmered between them. In quiet moments, stolen glances turned to lingering touches. Lyra's form, so alluring in her tattered yet elegant attire, drew Kai's eyes. She felt it too, the pull of his strength, his unwavering loyalty. One evening, in the dim glow of the observation deck, stars streaking by, Lyra confessed. "In Zerathia, affection is calculated. But with you it's alive." Kai pulled her close, his hands tracing the small points of her ears, eliciting a soft gasp. Their embrace deepened, bodies pressing together in a dance of discovery. The universe faded, leaving only them, human and alien, united against the void. But war called. The Empire's fleets massed, turning the tide. Kai's crew prepared for the inevitable clash, swearing anew to protect their princess. In the heart of battle, amid exploding ships and laser storms, Kai and Lyra fought side by side. His tactics outwitted the superior numbers, her knowledge of Zerathian weaknesses turned the scales. As victory neared, Lyra ascended not as a lone ruler, but hand in hand with Kai, a symbol of human loyalty, burning brighter than any star. As the echoes of battle faded into the cosmic hush, Lyra stood on the bridge of Kai's ship, her hand still clasped in his, the warmth of his skin a stark contrast to the cold vastness beyond the viewport. Victory had come at a price. Their vessel bore scars from the Empire's relentless assault, hull plates warped and flickering with emergency repairs. But in that moment, with the stars reclaiming their serene watch, she felt something shift inside her, awakening that went beyond mere gratitude. Kai's eyes, those deep blue storms, held hers with an intensity that made her pointed ears flush with heat, her pale skin tingling under the remnants of her gown. They had turned the tide, yes, rallying those unlikely allies into a force that shattered the Zerathian fleets. Yet the war was far from over. Whispers through the comms spoke of reinforcements mobilizing from the core worlds, her family's iron grip tightening like a noose. Kai's crew celebrated in the lower decks, their laughter a distant rumble, but here, in the dim glow of the control panels, the air between them thickened with unspoken promises. Lyra, Kai murmured, his voice low and rough from shouting orders amid the chaos. He stepped closer, the scent of sweat and ozone clinging to him like a warrior's perfume. His fingers traced the edge of her jaw, gentle yet commanding, sending a shiver down her spine that pooled in places she hadn't dared explore in her sheltered royal life. Zerathians bonded through minds, cool and calculated, but this human touch, it was fire, raw and consuming. She leaned into him, her curvaceous form pressing against his solid frame, the fabric of her gown whispering against his uniform. "You've given me more than protection," she whispered, her violet eyes half-lidded. "You've shown me what it means to be truly seen." Her small, elfin ears quivered as his thumb brushed over one, a spot so sensitive it made her breath hitch. In Zerathia, such intimacy was ritualized; distant here, it felt dangerously alive, like stepping into a supernova. Kai's lips curved into a smirk, that human charm that had disarmed fiercer foes than Imperial guards. "And you've got me questioning every star I've charted," he replied, his hand sliding to the small of her back, pulling her flush against him. The ship hummed around them, vibrations from the engines mirroring the pulse racing through her veins. But danger lurked. A subtle alert pinged on the console, a scout drone from her family's vanguard, slipping through their defenses like a shadow. They ignored it for a heartbeat, lost in the pull. Kai's mouth descended on hers, the kiss deeper this time, exploratory. His tongue teased the seam of her lips, coaxing them open, and when she yielded, a soft moan escaped her foreign, wanton. Her hands roamed his chest, feeling the hard planes of muscle earned from years of survival in the void. He tasted of salt and determination, a flavor that ignited her senses, making her body arch instinctively. But the alert grew insistent, red lights flashing. Kay broke away with a curse, his breath ragged. "Not now," he growled, slamming a fist on the panel to acknowledge the threat. Lyra's chest heaved, her gown slipping further, exposing the elegant swell of her breasts, pale and inviting under the artificial light. She felt exposed, vulnerable, yet empowered by the hunger in his eyes. "They're coming," she said, her voice steady despite the flush creeping up her neck. "My siblings, they won't stop until they've erased me entirely." Kai nodded, his mind already shifting to tactics, but his gaze lingered on her, tracing the curves that her attire accentuated so teasingly. "Then we make them regret it." But first he trailed off, pulling her toward a side corridor away from the bridge. The ship was a labyrinth of human ingenuity corridors, lined with jury-rigged tech, glowing conduits that pulsed like veins. They ducked into a maintenance alcove, a cramped space meant for repairs, but now a sanctuary of sorts. Here, away from prying eyes, Kai pressed her against the wall, his body a shield once more. "We might not have much time," he admitted, his hands roaming lower, fingers grazing the hem of her gown, lifting it slightly to reveal the smooth expanse of her thigh. Lyra gasped, her white skin prickling with goosebumps. Zerathian physiology was adaptable, but this human fervor, it awakened dormant desires, making her feel alive in ways the sterile palaces never had. "Tell me to stop," he whispered, his lips brushing her ear, nipping at the pointed tip. But she didn't. Instead, she wrapped her arms around his neck, pulling him closer. Their kisses turned fervent, hands exploring with a urgency born of impending doom. Kai's fingers danced along her curves, tracing the hourglass shape that had haunted his thoughts since that first cave encounter. She was soft where he was hard, ethereal yet grounded in this moment. A distant explosion rocked the ship, the scout drone making contact, perhaps. Alarms wailed faintly, but Kai muffled them with another kiss, his hand slipping beneath her gown to caress the warmth between her legs. Lyra arched, a cry escaping her lips, muffled against his shoulder. It was erotic, this blend of danger and desire, each touch heightening the suspense. Would they be interrupted? Would the Empire's claws reach them here? She reciprocated, her nails sharp from her alien heritage lightly scoring his back through his shirt, drawing a groan from him. "Humans, you're so intense," she breathed, her body responding in ways that surprised even her. A faint glow emanated from her skin, a Zerathian trait during arousal, illuminating the alcove like starlight. Key chuckled lowly, the sound vibrating through her. "And you're intoxicating." He lifted her effortlessly, her legs wrapping around his waist, the position intimate, teasing. Fabric shifted, barriers thinning, as they teetered on the edge of full surrender. But the ship's AI voice intruded incoming vessels. Evasive maneuvers required. With a frustrated growl, Kai set her down, adjusting her gown with surprising tenderness. To be continued, he promised, his eyes dark with unspent passion. Lyra nodded, her body humming with anticipation, the erotic tension coiling like a spring. They rushed back to the bridge, where the crew awaited. Mia, the pilot, shot them a knowing glance but said nothing. 3 cruisers closing fast, she reported. Kai took command, barking orders, his mind sharp despite the distraction. Lyra stood by his side, her presence a boost to morale, the alien princess protected by human valor. As they engaged, lasers streaking across the void, Kai's tactics shone. He used asteroid fields for cover, deploying decoys that mimicked their signature. One cruiser fell to a well-placed mine, exploding in a brilliant fireball. But the others pressed on, their weapons grazing the shields. In the midst of it, Lyra accessed her Imperial codes, hacking into the enemy comms to sow confusion. "Redirect to Sector 5, she transmitted in her father's voice, forged through tech. It worked. One ship veered off, buying them time. Kai glanced at her, admiration mixing with desire. "You're brilliant." The battle raged, suspense building with each near miss. A torpedo clipped their engines, sending sparks flying. Repairs were frantic. Jax, the engineer, dove into the fray, welding under fire. Lyra's heart pounded, not just from fear, but from the erotic undercurrent, the way Kai's muscles flexed as he maneuvered controls, his focus unbreakable. She imagined what awaited if they survived, that alcove calling like a siren's song. As the last cruiser retreated, damaged but not destroyed, the crew cheered. But Chi pulled Lyra aside once more, his hand on her waist. "We need to find a safe haven," he said. "Somewhere to regroup and finish what we started." She smiled, her violet eyes sparkling. "Lead the way, my protector." They charted course for a neutral moon in the Orvian system, a haven of black markets and hidden bays. En route, the tension simmered. In the mess hall over shared meals, Kai's foot brushed hers under the table, a secret caress that made her squirm. Conversations turned flirtatious, laced with innuendo. "Ever tried human cuisine?" he asked, offering a spiced ration that burned pleasantly on her tongue, mirroring the heat building between them. Nights in her quarters were restless. Lyra lay on the bunk, her gown discarded for comfort, her body aching from the unfinished encounter. She touched herself tentatively, imagining Kai's hands, his lips. The thought sent waves of pleasure through her, but it wasn't enough. She craved the real thing, the human intensity that promised to shatter her composure. One such night, a soft knock. Kai entered, shirtless from training, his torso glistening with sweat, scars mapping tales of survival. "Couldn't stay away," he admitted, closing the door. Lyra rose, her white hair tumbling over her shoulders, her form barely concealed by a thin sheet. "Then don't." She pulled him down, their bodies entwining on the narrow bed. Hands explored freely now, his calloused palms cupping her breasts, thumbs circling peaks that hardened under his touch. She gasped, her elfin ears sensitive to his breath, as he kissed along her neck. Their movements were slow, suspenseful, each caress building toward an inevitable crescendo. Kai's lips trailed lower, tasting her skin, eliciting moans that echoed softly. She writhed beneath him, her legs parting invitingly. "Kai," she whispered, her voice a plea. He paused, eyes locking with hers, the erotic charge electric. "Tell me what you want." "You," she breathed, "all of you." As they gave in, the ship sailed on, oblivious to the passion unfolding. But outside, in the shadows of space, a new threat loomed, her brother's flagship, tracking their trail with vengeful precision. The moon loomed ahead, a promise of respite, but the erotic haze lingered, binding them closer amid the growing suspense. The neutral moon of Elisara in the Orvian system emerged from the haze of hyperspace, like a jewel shrouded in mist, its surface a patchwork of glittering black market spires and hidden docking bays carved into ancient craters. Kai's ship, the Vanguard, slipped into a concealed hangar, engines cooling with a sigh that mirrored the crew's collective relief. But Lyra could feel the undercurrent of unease rippling through the air, thick as the recycled oxygen. Her brother's flagship, the Imperator's Wrath, was out there somewhere, its sensors probing the void like predatory tendrils. She glanced at Kai, who stood at the helm, his posture rigid, eyes scanning holographic displays for any sign of pursuit. The promise in his gaze from earlier, the heat of their unfinished embrace still lingered. But now it was tempered by the storm brewing on the horizon. As the landing clamps engaged with a metallic thud, Kai turned to her, his hand brushing hers in a gesture that sent a familiar spark racing up her arm. "This place is a den of thieves and informants," he said, his voice a low rumble. "We'll resupply, gather intel on your family's movements. But stay close, Elisara eats the unwary alive." Lyra nodded, her white hair catching the dim lights of the hangar, cascading over her shoulders like a veil of starlight. Her gown, though mended hastily during the journey, still hugged her form in ways that drew glances from the crew, elegant, revealing just enough to hint at the allure beneath. She felt exposed here, not just physically, but emotionally. These humans had awakened something in her, a vulnerability intertwined with strength. As they disembarked, the moon's artificial gravity tugged at her steps, and the cacophony of the bazaar assaulted her senses. Alien vendors hawking glowing artifacts, the sizzle of street food from distant worlds, and the murmur of deals struck in shadowed corners. Kai led the way, his crew fanning out to secure provisions. Mia bartered for fuel cells, her sharp tongue outmatching a sly Orvian trader, while Jax scouted for weapon upgrades, his burly frame intimidating would-be cheats. Lyra walked beside Kai, her small elfin ears twitching at every unfamiliar sound, her pale skin prickling with anticipation. The air was charged, not just with the thrill of evasion, but with the unspoken tension between them. Every brush of his arm against hers reminded her of the quarters they'd shared en route, the way his touch had ignited her, leaving her yearning for more. They ducked into a dimly lit cantina, a hub of whispers and flickering holograms projecting galactic news feeds. Kai ordered a round of synth ale, his eyes never leaving the entrance. "Your siblings, they think you're dead by now?" he asked, leaning in close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath on her neck. Lyra sipped the bitter brew, its tang sharpening her focus. "They hope so, but my brother, Prince Vexar, is relentless. He always coveted the throne, saw my empathy as a flaw to exploit." Her violet eyes darkened, memories of court intrigues flashing like lightning. "If he finds us..." "He won't," Kai interjected, his hand covering hers on the table, a silent vow. But even as he spoke, a holographic alert buzzed on his wrist device, a proximity warning. The Imperator's Wrath had jumped into the system, its massive silhouette blotting out stars on the scanner. The cantina fell into a hush as patrons sensed the shift, their conversations dying like embers. Kai's crew reconvened swiftly, faces grim. "We've got minutes," Mia reported, holstering a newly acquired blaster. "They're scanning the moon, must have a mole here." Lyra's heart thundered, a dramatic crescendo building in her chest. This was at the climax of their flight, the moment where alliances would shatter or forge anew. Curiosity gnawed at her. What drove Vexar so fiercely? Was it mere ambition, or something deeper, a secret buried in their shared bloodline? She rose, her gown swirling around her like a cloak of defiance. "We can't run forever. Perhaps it's time to confront him." Kai's eyes widened, surprise flickering across his features. "Confront? Here, that's suicide." But before he could argue, the cantina doors exploded inward in a hail of debris. Zerathian shock troops stormed in, their armor gleaming like obsidian, weapons humming with lethal energy. Patrons scattered, overturning tables in a chaotic frenzy. Kai shoved Lyra behind a bar counter, drawing his plasma rifle with fluid grace. "Stay down," he commanded, but she refused, grabbing a fallen blaster from a dazed traitor. The battle erupted in thrilling bursts of light and sound, a symphony of destruction. Troops advanced in formation, their leader a hulking captain with scars matching Vexar's insignia bellowing orders. "The princess lives, seize her for the prince." Kai fired first, his shot vaporizing the captain's shield in a spectacular arc of sparks. His crew joined the fray. Mia flanked from the left, her dual pistols weaving a web of fire. Jax charged like a bull, smashing through ranks with improvised grenades. Lyra, surprising even herself, unleashed precise blasts, her Zerathian agility allowing her to dodge incoming fire with ethereal grace. One trooper lunged at her, his blade slicing the air, but she twisted away, her pointed ears picking up the whistle of wind, and countered with a point-blank shot that sent him crumpling. Amid the chaos, a curious revelation struck: these troops weren't just hunting, they were desperate, their movements frantic. Why? As Kai pulled her through a side exit, evading a collapsing beam, she glimpsed a hologram on a fallen soldier's device, orders from Vexar, but laced with fear. Capture her alive, she holds the key to the artifact. Artifact. Lyra's mind raced, thrilling curiosity blending with the adrenaline. What artifact? Her family had never mentioned such a thing. Was this the surprise twist, the hidden truth behind her abandonment? They burst into the bizarre streets, the moon's dome overhead cracking under orbital bombardment. The Imperator's wrath loomed in the sky, its cannons raining down precision strikes. Kai's ship was blocks away, but the path was a gauntlet of debris and pursuing forces. "We need a diversion," he shouted over the din. Jax grinned maniacally, hurling a cluster of explosives at a fuel depot. The resulting blast was dramatic, a mushroom of flame that lit the artificial night, sending shockwaves that toppled spires and scattered troops. But in the thrill of escape, a surprising betrayal unfolded. One of their allied traitors from Orvian, a weaselly figure named Zorik, emerged from the shadows, blaster aimed at Lyra. "The prince pays well for traitors," he sneered. Kai reacted instantly, tackling Zorik to the ground in a bone-jarring clash. Fists flew, the two rolling amid rubble, Kai's human strength overpowering the alien's slyness. Lyra hesitated, then fired a stunning shot, dropping Zorik cold. "No time for mercy," she said, her voice steady, but inside curiosity burned. How deep did Vexar's network run? They sprinted toward the hangar, the ground quaking as the Wrath's guns targeted their position. Mia piloted a stolen hover skimmer, scooping them up in a daring swoop. "Hold on," she yelled, weaving through collapsing structures. As they reached the vanguard, engines roaring to life, the climax peaked in a heart-pounding ascent. The ship's shields flared under incoming fire, systems screaming warnings. Kai took the controls, executing a series of evasive spins that defied physics, human ingenuity at its peak. Lyra strapped in beside him, her hand on his thigh for reassurance, the touch a grounding force amid the turmoil. But the surprise came as they broke atmosphere. A transmission pierced their comms, Vexar's face materializing in hologram form. His features, so like hers yet twisted with malice, filled the screen. "Sister," he hissed, "you think these humans can save you? The artifact in your blood, it's the key to eternal rule. Surrender or watch them die." Lyra gasped, the revelation thrilling and curious all at once. Artifact in her blood. What ancient secret had her family hidden? She glanced at Kai, whose jaw set in determination. "She's not yours to claim," he retorted, cutting the feed. The Wrath pursued, closing the gap with superior speed. Lasers grazed their hull, sparks flying in the bridge. "We can't outrun them," Jax warned from engineering. In a dramatic gamble, Chi diverted power to weapons, spinning the ship to face the behemoth. "Then we fight." The Vanguard unleashed a barrage torpedoes laced with hacked Zerathian codes, courtesy of Lyra's input. They struck true, breaching the Wrath's defenses in a cascade of explosions. But Vexar wasn't done. A boarding pod launched, clamping onto their hull with a violent jolt. Troops poured in, the internal battle turning the ship into a war zone. Kai and Lyra fought back to back, his rifle covering her as she used her empathy link, a Zerathian gift, to disorient attackers, making them hesitate in confusion. The thrilling melee reached its peak in the engine room. Vexar himself teleported aboard, his regal armor humming with power. "You dare defy me?" he roared, lunging at Lyra with an energy blade. Kai intercepted, the clash of weapons echoing like thunder. They dueled fiercely, Vexar's superior deck against Kai's relentless spirit. Lyra watched, heart in throat, curiosity peaking. Why the artifact? In a surprising move, she accessed a console, overriding Vexar's teleport signal, destabilizing his armor. Kai seized the moment, disarming him with a brutal strike. Vexar fell to his knees, defeated but sneering. "The artifact, it's a genetic lock. Only you can activate the throne's true power. Father knew, he abandoned you to protect it from me." The revelation hit like a supernova, surprising in its depth. Lyra's abandonment wasn't cruelty, it was sacrifice. The drama unfolded as alarms blared, the Wrath self-destructing in the distance. With Vexar subdued, bound in restraints, the crew secured the ship. Kai pulled Lyra into an embrace, the climax ebbing into breathless relief. "It's over for now," he murmured, his lips brushing her forehead. But questions lingered, curious threads pulling at her mind. What power did she hold, and how would it change everything? As the Vanguard limped toward safer stars, the thrill of survival bonded them deeper, surprises yet to unfold in the vast unknown. As the Vanguard limped toward safer stars, its hull groaning like an old warrior nursing wounds, Lyra couldn't shake the weight of Vexar's words echoing in her mind. The artifact in her blood, a genetic lock to unimaginable power. It heightened the drama of her exile, transforming what she thought was mere familial cruelty into a cosmic chess game where she was the unwitting queen. Bound in the brig, Vexar sneered through the force field, his once imposing figure reduced to a shackled shadow, but his eyes still burned with that sibling rivalry turned venomous. Kai paced the bridge, his crew tending to repairs with the kind of frantic energy that came from dodging death one too many times. Jax welded a panel with sparks flying like fireworks, muttering curses under his breath, while Mia calibrated the sensors, her fingers dancing over the controls. Lyra approached Kai, her gown swishing softly, the fabric still bearing the singe marks from the boarding skirmish. "We need to talk about this artifact," she said, her voice a mix of resolve and uncertainty. Her violet eyes searched his, seeking the anchor she'd found in his human steadfastness. But before he could respond, the ship lurched violently, a hidden mine from the Wrath's debris field clipping their port side. Alarms blared, red lights pulsing like a heartbeat in panic. "Evasive," Kai shouted, shoving Lyra into a safety harness as the Vanguard spun wildly. The drama escalated in an instant, the ship tumbling through space like a leaf in a gale. Debris pelted the shields, each impact a thunderous reminder of how close they'd come to oblivion. Jax's voice crackled over the intercom, engine cores overheating. "If we don't vent now, we'll be space confetti." Kai gripped the controls, his knuckles white, sweat beading on his brow. Lyra, strapped in beside him, felt her pointed ears flatten against her head from the G-forces, an awkward reflex that made her look momentarily like a startled cat, something she'd later laugh about, but right now, it just added to the chaos. In a stroke of human ingenuity, Che rerouted power from non-essentials, including the artificial gravity in the lower decks. Suddenly, crew members floated mid-repair, tools drifting like lazy asteroids. Mia, upside down and flailing, yelled, "Captain, a little warning next time." "I'm not a damn balloon." The humor pierced the tension, drawing a reluctant chuckle from Kai, even as he stabilized the ship. "Better floating than fried," he shot back, his eyes flicking to Lyra with a wink that somehow made the dire situation feel almost playful. They cleared the debris, but the damage forced an emergency landing on a nearby asteroid outpost, a ramshackle hub called Drift's End, known for its shady mechanics and even shadier inhabitants. As the Vanguard settled into a docking cradle with a bone-rattling thud, Lyra unstrapped herself, her white hair disheveled in a way that only accentuated her ethereal beauty. Kai helped her up, his hand lingering on her waist a second too long, sending that familiar spark through them both. But the moment turned awkward when Vexar, visible on a security feed from the brig, let out a mocking laugh. How touching! The mighty human and his pet princess. Father would be appalled. Lyra's cheeks flushed, a rare sight on her pale skin, heightening the drama as she whirled toward the screen. "Silence, brother, your jealousy is as transparent as vacuum." Kai stepped in, cutting the feed with a jab at the console. "Ignore him, he's just trying to get under your skin." But the words hung there, awkward and unspoken. Was there truth to it? Were they moving too fast? This human-alien bond forged in fire. Disembarking into Drift's End was like stepping into a fever dream. The outpost was a labyrinth of pressurized tunnels lit by flickering neon, where aliens of all shapes bartered scraps and secrets. A hulking Dravex merchant with tentacles for arms eyed Lyra's gown appreciatively, waggling a slimy appendage. "Fine threads, missy. Trade for some glow juice?" Kai positioned himself protectively between them, his stance screaming back off, but the merchant just chortled, spraying a mist that smelled suspiciously like fermented space kelp. "Humans always so territorial." "Relax, buddy, I ain't poaching your sparkle." The humor diffused the tension, but it escalated the awkwardness as Lyra stifled a giggle, her small elfin ears twitching. "Sparkle? Is that what you call me now? Kai rubbed the back of his neck, a sheepish grin breaking through his tough exterior. Well, you do glow a bit when you know. He trailed off, referencing their intimate moments, and Lyra's flush deepened, turning the exchange into a comedy of errors amid the high-stakes repair hunt. They split tasks to heighten efficiency and the drama. Kai and Jax haggled with a sly mechanic, a wiry Netherian named Flick, who insisted on testing their credits by juggling them with his 4 hands. Real or fake? Let's see, he cackled, dropping one deliberately into a grate. Jax lunged to catch it, only to slip on a puddle of lubricant, landing flat on his back with a resounding splat. The crew erupted in laughter, even as Key facepalmed. Jax, you're a walking disaster. Up you get before we add clown to your resume. Meanwhile, Lyra ventured with Mia to source rare crystals for the engine core, her regal bearing drawing stares. An awkward situation unfolded when a cluster of curious young aliens' fluffy furballs from Solvane swarmed her, mistaking her pointed ears for playthings. Pointy, pointy, they chirped, tugging gently. Lyra froze, unaccustomed to such innocent chaos, her curvaceous form comically encircled by the puffballs. Mia snorted, trying to shoo them away. Hey kids, she's not a toy, scram. But one bold furball climbed onto Lyra's shoulder, nuzzling her hair. Pretty glow, lady? Lyra's initial discomfort melted into a soft laugh, the humor lightening her heart. Humans deal with this daily? No wonder you're all so resilient. Reuniting at the ship, the group shared stories over makeshift rations, the drama simmering as Vexar's presence loomed via intermittent taunts from the brig. Enjoy your little honeymoon while it lasts, he broadcast once, hacking the internal comms briefly before Kai shut it down. The awkwardness peaked when, during a quiet moment in the cargo bay, Lyra confronted Kai about the artifact. If it's in my blood, does that make me dangerous, to you? To everyone? Kai pulled her close, the air thick with emotion. Dangerous? Maybe. But that's what makes you worth fighting for. Their kiss was interrupted by Jax bursting in, tools in hand. Captain, the Corps, oh, stars, not again. Get a room, you two. He backed out, tripping over a crate in his haste, spilling parts everywhere. The clatter broke the tension, Lyra burying her face in Kai's chest to hide her laughter. Your crew, they're like a bad Hollywood comedy. But the humor couldn't mask the escalating drama. Scans revealed a Zerathian armada massing at the system's edge, reinforcements loyal to her other siblings, drawn by Vexar's distress beacon before his capture. They're coming for him and me, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling. Kai rallied the crew, his leadership shining. We fix up and jump out before they arrive. No heroics, just smart survival. Repairs dragged on, awkward mishaps piling up for comic relief. Flick, the mechanic, accidentally installed a faulty thruster that made the ship wobble like a drunkard during test fires. Oopsie. Human tech is so finicky, he claimed, but Kai saw through it, a sabotage attempt. Drama heightened as they interrogated him, only for Flick to reveal he was a double agent, bribed by the Empire. In a thrilling scuffle, Mia disarmed him with a well-aimed kick, sending his tools flying. That's for the credits you juggled, you cheat. With the ship patched barely, they launched, but the armada was closer than expected. Alarms wailed as enemy ships warped in, blocking escape vectors. Kai's tactics kicked in. He used the asteroid field for cover, slinging the Vanguard around massive rocks in a daring slalom. Lyra, at a console, jammed their sensors with Zerathian codes, buying precious seconds, their confused firing at phantoms, she exclaimed. The chase was dramatic, lasers streaking like comets. One grazed their shields, rocking the ship and sending Vexar tumbling in his cell. His indignant yelp over the comms added unintended humor. You barbarians. This is undignified. Kay couldn't help but quip, says the guy who tried to skewer us. Enjoy the ride, princeling. In a bold move, Kai detonated a cluster of mined asteroids, creating a debris storm that engulfed the lead pursuer. Explosions bloomed like flowers of fire, the armada faltering. But the Vanguard took a hit, life support flickering. Awkward panic ensued as oxygen levels dipped, crew masks deployed, turning everyone into muffled mummies. Lyra's mask fogged from her rapid breathing, her pointed ears poking out comically. How do you humans endure this? She gasped. Kai, ever the hero, rerouted power, stabilizing systems just as they punched into hyperspace. The jump was rough, stars blurring into streaks, but they emerged in neutral space, the armada left behind. Breathless, the crew collapsed in relief, Jax cracking open a contraband brew. To near-death experiences and the captain's lucky charm, he toasted, nodding at Lyra. She smiled, but the drama lingered. The artifact's secret weighed heavy. In Kai's arms later, amid the hum of the ship, she whispered, "What if unlocking it changes me?" He kissed her forehead. "Then we'll face it together. Human style, with grit and a side of bad jokes." As they charted course for an allied world, the awkward blend of romance, rivalry, and revelations promised more twists, the galaxy's vastness hiding surprises that could either unite or unravel them. As they charted course for the allied world of Orales, a shimmering haven of neutral territories where humans and various alien factions had forged uneasy pacts, the Vanguard hummed with a newfound quiet. The hyperspace tunnel enveloped them in streaks of ethereal light, a cocoon of temporary peace after the whirlwind escape from Drift's End. Lyra leaned against the viewport in the observation lounge, her white hair catching the glow like threads of captured starshine, her curvaceous silhouette outlined against the cosmic blur. The artifact's mystery pulsed in her thoughts, a dramatic undercurrent that made every glance at Chi feel charged with deeper meaning. What if unlocking it did change her? But in his embrace earlier, with the crew's humorous interruptions fading into memory, she found solace in the human way, raw, unfiltered connection that grounded her amid the stars. Kai entered the lounge quietly, the door whispering shut behind him. His presence filled the space, that rugged confidence tempered by the softness he reserved for her. "Couldn't sleep?" he asked, echoing their earlier stolen moments, his voice a gentle rumble that sent a warm flutter through her. He carried 2 steaming mugs of earth herbal tea, a simple gesture that spoke volumes in the vastness of space. Lyra turned, her violet eyes meeting his, a smile curving her lips despite the weight on her mind. "Sleep feels like a luxury when the galaxy's secrets are unraveling around us." She accepted the mug, their fingers brushing in a touch that lingered, igniting that familiar spark. The tea's aroma earthy and soothing mingled with the faint scent of his skin, a reminder of their closeness during the chaos. As they sat on the cushioned bench overlooking the hyperspace vista, the ship's subtle vibrations seemed to echo the building tension between them. He set his mug aside, his hand finding hers, intertwining fingers in a way that felt both protective and intimate. "The artifact will figure it out on Orales. There are scholars there, old allies who owe me favors. But right now, let's just be." His thumb traced slow circles on her palm, a simple caress that awakened sensations she'd only begun to explore since meeting him. Zerathians approached bonds with calculated empathy, but humans dove in with passion, and Lyra found herself drawn to that fire, her body responding in ways that made her pointed ears warm and her pale skin flush faintly. She shifted closer, her gown still elegant despite the trials slipping slightly at the shoulder, revealing the smooth curve of her collarbone. Kai's gaze followed the movement, his breath catching, and in that instant, the drama of their journey melted into something more personal, more urgent. "You've shown me a side of the universe I never knew," she whispered, leaning in until their faces were inches apart. Her free hand rested on his chest, feeling the steady rhythm of his heart, a human beat that synced with her own accelerating pulse. Their lips met softly at first, a tender exploration that deepened as the moments stretched. Kai's arms encircled her waist, pulling her onto his lap with gentle insistence, her legs straddling him in a position that felt natural, inevitable. The lounge's dim lighting cast soft shadows, enhancing the intimacy as his hands roamed her back, tracing the contours of her form through the thin fabric. Lyra gasped softly against his mouth, her small elfin ears quivering with sensitivity as his fingers brushed near them, sending delightful shivers down her spine. The kiss grew more fervent, a blend of longing and relief after the perils they'd faced. Kai's lips trailed to her neck, planting warm kisses along her pale skin, eliciting a soft sigh from her that filled the air like music. She arched into him, her body pressing closer, the heat between them building like a slow-burning star. His hands slid lower, cupping her hips, guiding her movements in a rhythmic dance that spoke of deeper desires. Lyra's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him back to her lips, their breaths mingling in heated exchanges. In this secluded space, with the galaxy rushing by outside, they surrendered to the pull. Kai lifted her effortlessly, carrying her to the nearby alcove bed, a cozy nook designed for long voyages. He laid her down with care, his eyes locked on hers, filled with a mix of adoration and hunger. "You're beautiful," he murmured, his voice husky, as he joined her, his body covering hers in a protective, loving embrace. Their touches became more exploratory, hands wandering over clothing that soon felt like barriers. Lyra helped him shed his shirt, her palms gliding over the firm planes of his chest, tracing scars that told stories of his bravery. In return, he eased her gown from her shoulders, revealing more of her luminous skin, his kisses following the path, gentle and reverent. The sensations were overwhelming yet exquisite waves of pleasure that made her body respond instinctively, her curves fitting perfectly against him. They moved together in harmony, a symphony of soft whispers and shared breaths. Kai's caresses were tender, focusing on what made her sigh and tremble, while Lyra discovered the joys of reciprocating, her alien grace adding an ethereal quality to their union. The experience was profound, a fusion of worlds where empathy met passion, heightening every sensation. She felt a glow building within her, that Zerathian trait amplifying the intimacy, bathing them in a soft, warm light that mirrored the stars outside. Time seemed to suspend as they lost themselves in each other, the ships hum a distant backdrop to their private world. Lyra's moans were soft, muffled against his shoulder, as waves of ecstasy washed over her, her body arching in release. Kai followed soon after, his hold tightening as he whispered her name like a vow. They clung together in the aftermath, bodies entwined, hearts racing in unison. As they caught their breath, wrapped in the afterglow, Lyra traced patterns on his chest, a content smile on her lips. "Humans, you make everything feel so alive," she said, her voice laced with wonder. Kai chuckled softly, kissing her forehead. "And you make the stars seem dim in comparison." But even in this blissful interlude, the drama of their quest lingered at the edges. A soft chime from the console interrupted gently a status update on their approach to Aurales. Kai glanced at it, his arms still around her. "We're almost there. Rest now, we'll need our strength." Lyra nodded, nestling closer, the intimacy they'd shared strengthening their bond against whatever awaited. On Aurales, with its sprawling academies and hidden archives, they would delve into the artifact's secrets. But for now, in the quiet aftermath, she felt empowered, cherished, a princess no longer abandoned, but embraced by a love that spanned species. The ship emerged from hyperspace with a gentle shudder, Aurales filling the viewport like a beacon. Its surface gleamed with domed cities and verdant biospheres, a world where knowledge flowed like rivers. Kai helped Lyra adjust her gown, their touches lingering with newfound familiarity. "Ready?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with that human optimism. She straightened, her white hair tumbling gracefully. "With you, always." They stepped onto the bridge together, the crew greeting them with knowing smiles, Mia arching an eyebrow but saying nothing, Jax offering a thumbs up that made Lyra laugh softly. Docking procedures began, the station's AI welcoming them in melodic tones. But as they prepared to disembark, Vexar's voice crackled over a secured line from the brig. "Enjoy your little escapade, sister. The artifact calls to you and others will come for it too." His words added a layer of intrigue, heightening the stakes once more. Kai squeezed her hand. "Let them come. We've got each other." As they ventured into Aurales's bustling ports, filled with scholars in flowing robes and holographic displays of ancient lore, Lyra felt a surge of determination. The intimacy they'd shared wasn't just passion, it was fuel for the battles ahead. They met with an old ally, a wise Urindor historian named Thal, in a secluded library tower. His tentacles waved in greeting, his multiple eyes widening at Lyra's tale. "The genetic lock, yes, I've heard whispers. It's tied to Zerathia's founding relic, a device that bends reality itself." As Thal unfurled ancient scrolls, digital projections flickering like ghosts, Lyra's blood hummed, as if responding to the knowledge. Kai stood by her side, his presence a steady anchor. But drama stirred when alarms echoed through the tower. Imperial spies had infiltrated Aurales, drawn by Vexar's beacon. The chase resumed, but now with intimacy's glow bolstering them. They evaded patrols through winding corridors, Kai's quick thinking and Lyra's empathy disorienting pursuers. In a hidden alcove, breathless from the run, they shared a quick kiss, a reminder of their connection amid the thrill. Thal provided a data crystal with clues to the artifact's activation. "It requires a bond of trust," he explained. "Pure, unyielding." Lyra glanced at Kai, realizing their union might be key. As they returned to the Vanguard, slipping past guards with clever diversions, the ship's engines roared to life. Deeper into the galaxy they went, toward the relic's rumored location, a forgotten nebula where stars were born. In the quiet of their quarters that night, Lyra and Kai rekindled their closeness, touches soft and affirming. No words were needed, their bodies spoke of commitment, pleasure shared in gentle waves that left them sated and stronger. The nebula loomed, a swirling canvas of color and mystery. What awaited inside? The artifact's power, perhaps in tests of their bond. But with the intimacy forging them anew, they faced it united, humans' loyalty shining through. The nebula loomed ahead, a swirling canvas of color and mystery that beckoned like a siren's call, its gaseous tendrils weaving through the void in hues of emerald and sapphire, dotted with the nascent glow of forming stars. The vanguard sliced into its outer edges with a subtle tremor, sensors flickering as they adjusted to the electromagnetic interference that made navigation a dance of precision and instinct. Lyra stood on the bridge, her hand resting lightly on Kai's shoulder as he fine-tuned the controls, their shared intimacy from the night, before lingering like a warm undercurrent, binding them in silent understanding. The crew moved with quiet efficiency, Mia plotting trajectories through the haze, Jax monitoring the engines for any strain from the nebula's pull. Even Vexar, still confined in the brig, had fallen uncharacteristically silent, as if the ancient expanse outside held him in thrall. As they delved deeper, the ship's lights dimmed to conserve power, casting the interior in an ethereal glow that mirrored the nebula's beauty. Lyra felt a pull in her chest, subtle at first, like a whisper from her blood, the artifact stirring, responding to the relic's proximity. "It's here," she murmured, her violet eyes widening. "I can feel it calling." Kai glanced up, his stormy gaze filled with that unyielding human resolve. "Then let's answer it. Together." His words carried the weight of their bond, forged not just in battles and stolen moments, but in the profound connection that had blossomed between them, making every step forward feel like a shared destiny. The nebulous core revealed itself gradually, a hidden pocket of calm amid the chaos, a derelict station orbiting a pulsating anomaly, its structure ancient and ornate, etched with Zerathian runes that glowed faintly. Scans confirmed it, the founding relic, a device said to bend reality, guarded by automated defenses that had slumbered for eons. Docking was tense, automated turrets whirred to life, but Lyra's genetic signature, that elusive artifact in her veins, disarmed them with a harmonic pulse, allowing the vanguard to clamp on securely. "Like it was waiting for you," Kai observed, suiting up in his armored exosuit alongside the team. Lyra nodded, slipping into a lightweight Envirus suit that hugged her form, her white hair tucked under a helmet that left her pointed ears visible through the visor. They boarded the station in a tight formation, flashlights cutting through the dusty corridors where time seemed frozen. The air was stale but breathable, laced with the faint hum of dormant machinery. Artifacts lined the walls, crystalline data nodes pulsing with forgotten knowledge, holographic projectors flickering ghosts of Zerathian history. Lyra's empathy link tingled, picking up echoes of emotions long past, ambition, betrayal, and a profound sense of creation. "This place, it's the cradle of our empire," she explained, her voice echoing softly. "Where the first Zerathians harnessed the stars." Kai's hand found hers briefly, a grounding touch amid the awe-inspiring vastness. Deeper in, they reached the central chamber, a vast dome overlooking the anomaly's core, where the relic sat enthroned, a spherical device of iridescent metal, suspended in a field of anti-gravity, its surface shifting like liquid starlight. Lyra approached, her blood humming louder now, a symphony that drowned out the station's ambient noise. "The genetic lock," she whispered, extending her hand. As her palm neared the sphere, a beam of light scanned her, interfacing with the artifact within her. The chamber lit up, holograms blooming around them, projections of Zerathian lore unfolding like a storybook. But as the data flowed, a powerful twist unraveled, taking everyone by surprise. The holograms didn't depict Zerathians as the galaxy's ancient overlords. Instead, they revealed a startling truth. Eons ago, the Zerathians, facing extinction from a cosmic plague, had engineered a new species, resilient, adaptable beings seated on a distant blue planet called Earth. Humans weren't wanderers who clawed their way to the stars, they were the Zerathians' children, created as a safeguard, their DNA infused with fragments of the Empire's essence to ensure survival. Lyra staggered back, her mind reeling as images flashed, Zerathian scientists, blending their genetics with primitive Earth life, launching arcs to seed the planet, embedding the artifact as a dormant key in select bloodlines hers included to one day reclaim the relic and revive the Empire. Kai froze, his exosuit's lights reflecting off the holograms that now showed uncanny resemblances, human features mirroring softened Zerathian traits, the pointed ears a recessive echo in some lineages. This can't be, he muttered, his voice cracking for the first time, the surprise hitting like a supernova. The oath his crew had sworn to protect her wasn't just loyalty, it was an ancestral imperative, hard-coded into human DNA, explaining the inexplicable pull he'd felt from the start. Lyra turned to him, her pale skin ashen under the visor, tears welling in her violet eyes. We're connected. Humans are our descendants. The abandonment, it wasn't to protect the artifact from Vexar, it was to awaken it through you. The revelation deepened as the holograms continued. The royal family had known, using the civil war as a ruse to isolate Lyra on Vexalan, a world seeded with human outposts, hoping fate would draw a pure descendant to her side. But the twist sharpened. Vexar, sensing the truth, had hunted her not for the throne, but to prevent the awakening, fearing it would dilute Zerathian purity with human weakness. A sudden alarm blared. The station's systems, triggered by the unlock, broadcast a signal across the galaxy, alerting remnants of the old empire and awakening dormant human traits in Kai's crew. Chaos erupted as the surprise rippled through the team. Mia clutched her head, visions flashing, empathy links activating, her senses sharpening like Lyra's. Jax's strength surged, his muscles tensing as latent enhancements kicked in. What the hell is happening? He growled, but there was no time for answers. The signal had drawn unwanted attention. Imperial loyalists, hidden in the nebula's fringes, warped in sleek fighters, swarming the station like angry hornets. Kai snapped into action, the twist fueling a fierce protectiveness that now felt primal. Defend the relic, we can't let them stop this. Lasers peppered the dome, cracks spiderwebbing the viewports. Lyra interfaced with the sphere, her blood sinking fully, unlocking waves of power that mended the station's defenses, turrets reactivating, shields flaring to life. But the battle was visceral, boarders teleported in, clad in elite Zerathian gear, clashing with the crew in the corridors. Kai fought like a demon possessed, his movements enhanced by the awakening, dodging blasts with unnatural speed, his plasma rifle felling foes in precise bursts. Lyra joined him, her empathy now amplified, disorienting attackers with projected fear, her gown beneath the suit flowing like a banner of defiance. One loyalist, a commander with eyes like Vexar's, sneered as he cornered her. The hybrid filth awakens. Your blood taints us all. But Kai intervened, tackling him through a bulkhead, the impact crumpling metal. Amid the fray, another layer of the twist unfolded. Vexar, sensing the signal from the brig via a hidden implant, overrode his restraints and beamed aboard the station. He materialized in the chamber, energy blade drawn, his face a mask of fury. Sister, you've doomed us. Humans are our failed experiment, wild, uncontrollable. I won't let you merge our fates, he lunged, but Lyra parried with a force field from the relic, her voice steady. They're our salvation, brother. Strong where we're fragile. The duel was dramatic, siblings clashing amid holograms of their shared origins. Vexar struck with calculated precision, but Lyra, empowered by the artifact, countered with bursts of reality-bending energy, warping space to deflect blows. Kai rushed in, his human grit turning the tide. He disarmed Vexar with an improvised EMP grenade, sending the blades skittering away. She's not alone anymore, Kai declared, standing over the fallen prince. As the loyalists retreated, overwhelmed by the station's defenses and the crew's newfound abilities, Lyra completed the activation. The relic pulsed, sending a galaxy-wide wave that awakened latent traits in humans everywhere, enhancing their ingenuity, their unbreakable spirit, proving the experiment's success. But the surprise lingered in the final hologram. A message from their ancestors revealed the ultimate twist. Lyra wasn't just the key, she was engineered as the bridge, her empathy designed to bond with a human counterpart, ensuring unity. Kai, unknowingly descended from the original Ark's captain, was her destined match. They stood together as the nebula calmed, the relic's power integrating into them, a fusion of species that promised a new era. Lyra removed her helmet, her white hair spilling free, and pulled Kai into a kiss, the surprise transforming into hope. We're one people now, she whispered. Humanity's oath, it's our future. The vanguard detached, charting a course homeward, but the twist had changed everything. Alliances would shift, empires crumble, and their bond, once a spark, now burned as the heart of a reborn galaxy. The Vanguard detached from the ancient station with a graceful hum, its systems now augmented by the relics' lingering energy, propelling them homeward through the nebula's fading veils. But the twist of their shared origins had rewritten the stars themselves, alliances teetering on the brink of collapse as whispers of the awakening spread like wildfire across comms channels. Empires that once loomed invincible now faced the crumbling of old hierarchies, with humans long dismissed as upstarts emerging as the true heirs to Zerathian legacy. Lyra and Kai's bond, once a fragile spark ignited in the fires of rescue, now blazed at the core of this reborn galaxy, a beacon that could either unite fractured worlds or ignite total war. As the ship steadied its course toward Zerathia's core systems, where her family's remnants still held sway, Lyra felt the weight of it all pressing down, her blood thrumming with the artifact's power like a second heartbeat. On the bridge, the crew buzzed with a mix of exhilaration and unease, their newly awakened traits manifesting in subtle ways, Maya's empathy allowing her to anticipate system glitches before they occurred, Jax's enhanced strength making him juggle heavy crates like toys during inventory. Kai stood at the helm, his posture a pillar of calm amid the storm, but Lyra could sense the turmoil beneath, her own amplified senses picking up the rapid thump of his heart. "This changes everything," he said quietly, turning to her with eyes that held both wonder and a flicker of doubt. "We're not just allies anymore, we're family, in the most literal sense." His words heightened the drama, layering their romance with the gravity of ancestral ties, making every touch feel like a thread in a vast cosmic tapestry. Lyra stepped closer, her gown repaired and shimmering, once more clinging to her curves in the ship's recycled air, her white hair framing a face etched with determination. "Family or not, we've chosen this path," she replied, her hand resting on his arm, the contact sending a familiar warmth through them both. But before they could delve deeper, the ship's AI chimed in with an urgent alert: incoming hail from a coalition of neutral worlds, drawn by the relics signal. The drama escalated as holographic faces materialized, leaders from Orvian, Lunara and beyond, their expressions a cocktail of awe and suspicion. Princess Lyra intoned a stern Erendor ambassador, his tentacles writhing. "The awakening, it threatens the balance. Explain yourselves, or face blockade." Kai leaned forward, his human diplomacy kicking in with a disarming grin. "Ladies, gentlemen and esteemed squiggles," he quipped, nodding at the tentacled figure, drawing a reluctant chuckle from Mia and easing the tension just a hair. But the humor was short-lived. The ambassadors demanded proof, insisting on a virtual summit where Lyra would demonstrate the relic's integration. As the call ended, Lyra turned to Kai, her violet eyes wide. "A summit? With Vexar still aboard? This could unravel us." The awkwardness hit like a rogue asteroid, her brother, the embodiment of betrayal, now a prisoner whose knowledge could either validate or sabotage everything. They decided to interrogate Vexar first, heightening the stakes as they descended to the brig. The force field hummed ominously, framing him like a caged beast, his regal features twisted in defiance. "Come to gloat, sister, or to parade your human pet," he sneered, his gaze flicking to Kai with venom. Lyra stiffened, but Kai placed a hand on her back, steadying her. "We're here for answers, not insults," Kai said evenly. But as they delved into questions about the royal family's hidden archives, Vexar dropped a bombshell: father-embedded failsafes in the artifact. Activate it fully, and it could erase human independence, bind them as servants to Zerathian will. The drama surged, Lyra's heart pounding. Was their bond a tool of control? Before she could process, a system glitch triggered by the nebula's residual interference caused the force field to flicker. Vexar lunged, grabbing a loose panel as a makeshift weapon, swinging it wildly. Kai shoved Lyra aside, tackling her brother in a chaotic grapple that sent them crashing into the bulkhead. Alarms blared, the brig lights strobing like a malfunctioning disco. "Hold him," Mia shouted, bursting in with Jax, but the scene turned awkwardly comical as Jax slipped on a spilled ration pack, landing in a heap that pinned Vexar temporarily. "Oof. That's what you get for fancy footwork, princeling," Jax grunted, his burly frame squashing Vexar like an overripe fruit. Lyra couldn't help a nervous laugh, the humor piercing the tension as Kai hauled her brother up, restraints reapplied. "Nice moves, Jax," Remind me not to arm wrestle you. But the incident only amplified the drama. Diagnostics revealed sabotage. Vexar had used his implant to seed a virus during the station chaos. He's been playing us, Chi realized, his face darkening. The awkward situation deepened during repairs, with the crew crammed into engineering, bodies brushing in the tight space. Lyra, squeezed between Kai and Mia, felt her pointed ears brush Kai's cheek accidentally, sending a flush to her pale skin. Sorry, she murmured, but Mia smirked. Captain, if you two keep sparking like that, we'll have to vent the heat. Kai rubbed his neck, chuckling awkwardly. Focus team. We've got a summit to prep. As they approached Zerathia's borders, the drama hit fever pitch with intercepted transmissions, her siblings rallying loyalists for a blockade, viewing the human-Zerathian fusion as heresy. They'll fire on us, Lyra warned, her voice trembling. Kai pulled her into a side corridor for a private moment, the ship's hum masking their words. We face them head-on. Show the galaxy what unity looks like. Their kiss was fervent, a blend of passion and desperation, but interrupted by Jax's booming voice over comms. Captain. We've got incoming. Wait, MIO, stars, wrong channel? The awkward intrusion made Lyra pull back, giggling despite the stakes. Your timing, Jax. Humor aside, the blockade loomed, a phalanx of Zorathian cruisers arrayed like judgmental sentinels. The summit commenced virtually, holograms filling the bridge, ambassadors, siblings, and even neutral observers. Lyra stood tall, demonstrating the relic's power by healing a minor ship wound with a wave of energy, her blood's artifact glowing faintly through her skin. But drama exploded when Vexar, patched in under guard, revealed a hidden recording footage of Lyra and Kai's intimate moments, twisted to portray manipulation. See, she's ensnared them with false bonds, he accused. The awkward horror washed over Lyra, her cheeks burning as the holograms murmured. Kai's jaw clenched, but he stepped forward with human bravado. That's love, not chains. And if you can't tell the difference, that's on you. His words, laced with humor in their bluntness, shifted the tide, ambassadors chuckling at Vexar's overreach. But the siblings fired a warning shot, grazing the Vanguard's shields. Surrender the relic, they demanded. In the ensuing chaos, Kai's tactics shone. He used the awakened human traits to hack enemy comms, broadcasting the full hologram truth from the station. We're family, act like it, Lyra urged over open channels, her empathy projecting waves of unity that disoriented the loyalists. One cruiser defected, its captain a distant cousin hailing them, the old ways die today. But awkwardness peaked when, mid-battle, the virus resurfaced, causing the ship's gravity to invert briefly. Crew flipped upside down, Lyra's gown billowing comically as she clung to Kai. Not the time for zero-G tango, he joked, riding them with a quick override. The humor fueled their resolve, turning potential disaster into a rallying cry. As the blockade fractured, siblings retreating in disarray, Lyra and Kai shared a triumphant embrace on the bridge. We did it, she breathed. Yet drama lingered. Vexar, witnessing the shift, whispered a final taunt. This unity? It'll break you both. His words hung heavy, but Kai quipped, better broken together than perfect apart. The crew laughed, the awkward blend of revelation and romance propelling them toward Zerathia's throne world, where true reckoning awaited. Alliances reformed en route, neutral worlds pledging support via frantic hails. But an awkward detour arose when a Lunara merchant fleet, mistaking them for pirates due to the battle scars, launched a defensive probe that latched onto the hull like a lovesick parasite. It's hugging us? Mia observed, scanning the device that turned out to be a malfunctioning trade bot, spewing offers for exotic human spices. Jax pried it off with exaggerated grunts, tossing it into space with a begone, clingy bot. The incident lightened moods, but heightened drama as scans revealed it carried a tracker, her siblings' last ploy. Evading it required a daring slingshot around a gas giant, gravity wells tugging the ship in a heart-pounding ballet. Lyra's powers stabilized them, but not before an awkward tumble sent Kai into her lap in the command chair. Fancy meeting you here, he teased, their laughter echoing as they cleared the danger. Finally, Zerathia's palace loomed, a crystalline spire piercing the clouds. Landing under truce flags, they confronted the remaining royals in the Grand Hall. Drama climaxed as Lyra activated the artifact fully, merging human and Zerathian essences in a radiant display. Siblings knelt, awed, but Vexar freed for the ritual attempted one last betrayal, lunging with a concealed dagger. Kai intercepted, the scuffle awkward as they wrestled amid priceless artifacts, knocking over a vase that shattered like comic relief. "Watch the antiques," Jax yelled from the sidelines. Subdued, Vexar yielded, the family reconciled in uneasy peace. Lyra ascended, not as sole ruler, but company with Ki, a symbol of fusion. As celebrations erupted, awkward humor surfaced when a human tradition clashed. Kai proposed a toast with earth ale, but Zerathian physiology made it fizz hilariously in their mouths. "Bubbly betrayal," Lyra sputtered, laughing. In the quiet after their bond deepened, the galaxy reborn under their watchful eyes. In the quiet after the celebrations, as the crystalline spires of Zerathia's palace caught the first rays of the dual suns rising over the horizon, Lyra and Kai stood on a balcony overlooking the vast throne world. The air was alive with the hum of a galaxy in transition shuttles, ferrying envoys from distant systems, holograms flickering with messages of alliance, and the distant cheers of crowds below, a mix of Zorathians and humans mingling in streets that had once known only division. Their bond, deepened by trials and revelations, felt like the steady pulse of the universe itself, a rhythm that had carried them from abandonment to ascension. Vexar, humbled and integrated into the new council under watchful eyes, had retreated to reflect, his parting words a grudging acknowledgement, perhaps there's strength in this fusion. The drama of the day had ABD, leaving space for reflection, and Lyra leaned against Kai, her head resting on his shoulder, her white hair mingling with the breeze like threads of fate, woven anew. The palace gardens below bloomed with hybrid flora, earth roses entwined with Zerathian glow vines, symbols of the merging worlds. Kai wrapped an arm around her waist, pulling her closer, the warmth of his touch a constant reminder of how far they'd come. "Look at it all," he murmured, his voice soft with awe. "From a crashed shuttle on a forsaken planet to this. Who would have thought a human captain and a Zerathian princess could rewrite the stars?" Lyra smiled, her violet eyes reflecting the sunrise, the small points of her ears twitching at the sound of laughter from a group of children, human and alien, playing in the courtyards. It was a scene she'd never imagined in the cold halls of her youth, where empathy was a flaw and loyalty a commodity. Now, with the artifact's power fully awakened and shared, it pulsed through the Empire like a benevolent force, enhancing connections rather than controlling them. As the morning unfolded, they walked the palace corridors, hand in hand, greeting the new council members. Mia, now an ambassador bridging human colonies and Zerathian outposts, approached with a grin, her empathy link allowing her to sense their contentment. "Captain company ruler Ki," she teased, bowing dramatically. "The fleet's reporting in awakenings are spreading. Humans everywhere are discovering traits they never knew, faster healing, sharper instincts. It's chaos, but the good kind." Jax lumbered up behind her, carrying a crate of earth delicacies as a gift for the kitchens. "And the food fusion? Killer. Tried Zerathian nectar with human barbecue, mind-blowing. Though it did make my stomach do flips earlier." He patted his belly with a wink, drawing a laugh from Lyra, the humor a light thread in the tapestry of their victory. But beneath the levity, a quiet resolve settled in. Lyra led Kai to the throne chamber, where the relic, now a central artifact in a redesigned hall, hovered gently, its light a soft beacon. "This power, it's not just for ruling," she said, her voice steady. "It's for healing what was broken. My family abandoned me, thinking weakness, but you showed me strength in unity." Kai turned her to face him, his hands cupping her cheeks, thumbs brushing her pale skin. "And you showed me that the galaxy's bigger than survival. It's about who you fight for." Their kiss was unhurried, a seal on promises kept, the intimacy they'd shared evolving into something eternal, a blend of human passion and Zerathian depth that promised endless discoveries. Word spread across the stars, the Forsaken heir had returned, not as a conqueror, but as a unifier, with humanity's oath at her side. Rogue factions, once rivals, sent delegations, Orvian traders offering tech exchanges, Lunara nomads sharing ancient lore. Even the beasts of Vexalan, through bio-linked envoys, acknowledged the shift, their howls turning to songs of alliance. Lyra's siblings, scattered but chastened, began tentative outreach, the Civil War's scars fading under the relic's influence. Vexar, in a surprising turn, volunteered for frontier diplomacy, his ambition redirected toward building rather than breaking. "I suppose humans have their uses," he admitted in a rare holo call, his tone laced with reluctant humor. "Don't let it go to your heads." As days turned to weeks, Lyra and Chi balanced rule with exploration, venturing to human worlds where awakenings sparked festivals. Earth descendants embracing their Zerathian roots with parades of glowing art and shared stories. On one such trip, aboard the Vanguard, now a symbol of the new era, they revisited Vexilon, the hostile dunes now tamed with outposts. Standing where they'd first met, amid the crimson sands, Kay knelt playfully, offering a ring forged from relic shards and earth gold. "Marry me, Lyra, not as rulers but as us." Her laughter rang out, pure and joyful, as she pulled him up into an embrace. "I already have in every way that matters." The crew, watching from afar, cheered, Jax firing off fireworks that lit the sky like 1,000 stars. Challenges lingered. Of course, the galaxy was vast, with pockets of resistance and unknown threats lurking in uncharted voids. But with humanity's ingenuity and Zerathian wisdom intertwined, they faced them head-on. Lyra's empathy guided negotiations, turning enemies into allies, while Kai's unbreakable spirit inspired fleets to push boundaries. Their children, born of this fusion, would inherit a legacy of harmony, small ears pointed like hers, eyes stormy like his, destined to explore further. In quiet evenings, back on the throne world, they'd sit under the stars, Lyra's head in Kai's lap, her curvaceous form relaxed against him as he traced patterns on her arm. "Do you ever miss the old days?" she asked once, her voice a whisper. He chuckled, pulling her closer. "The running and fighting? Nah. This us, the peace we've built, that's the real adventure." As the dual suns set, painting the sky in hues of gold and violet, Lyra felt complete, the abandonment a distant memory, replaced by a love that had saved not just her, but everything. And so, the tale of the Forsaken Heir became legend, whispered across worlds, how a princess left to fate found salvation in humanity's oath, proving that true power lies not in thrones or artifacts, but in the bonds that defy the stars. In the end, it wasn't war or relic that turned the tide, but the simple, profound act of choosing each other, a humanity fuck, yeah moment that echoed eternally through the cosmos, a good ending written in the light of 1,000 reborn stars.